Let's freeze dry Halloween candy. This is a great holiday to get started in making some cold hard cash with your freeze dryer. Whether you are just starting out or you have an existing freeze drying business, man, there are so many cool, unique, limited time candies that are coming out right now that you can start freeze drying. Halloween happens to be my favorite holiday as well. And in fact, my wife and I got married 10 years ago this year on Halloween. Halloween on the freeze drying side has been a great opportunity for me to make some money in my freeze drying business. In fact, this is the first kind of holiday that really catapults my business's sales throughout the year, because not only do we have Halloween, we have Black Friday coming up as well as Christmas. So a lot of great opportunities to make some money. And if you haven't bought a freeze dryer yet, you can make back that freeze dryer cost easily in this upcoming 3 holidays. If you haven't bought a freeze dryer yet, I personally have a Harvest Right freeze dryer, have multiple of them, and you can buy directly through the link below in the video description through my affiliate link. And you'll be doing me a solid by supporting this channel as well as everything I'm trying to do for the freeze drying space by using the link below to Harvest Right and making that purchase online through my affiliate link. I'd really appreciate it. Now, whether you have a Harvest Right freeze dryer or have a different one, the general freeze dryer settings for Halloween candy that we're gonna do today is gonna be 140 degrees as well as 150 degrees. Now, some of these candies that I have in front of me, I already did in a previous video last year. You can check that out in the card above or in the video description, as well as at the end of this video in the thumbnails, okay? Now, we did last year the Shrieker Skittles. This is a kind of a play off the sour Skittles with some regular Skittles, and you gotta be quick about going to grab some of these at your local Walmart, Kroger, Walgreens, even Fred Meyer. So this is really easy to do. This is at 140 degrees in your freeze dryer, and you're just gonna do it at regular Skittle mode, which is gonna be for about 2 to 3 hours. Now, another one that I've done and I do at 140 degrees is these Nerd Gummy Clusters. Now, this is a limited edition one. It has purple, orange, and white different flavors around the little nerds with the gummies on it. And as you know from probably previous videos or you've seen around, or maybe you've tried it, is that the Nerd Gummy Clusters pop and become really delicate, crunchy bites of flavor. These are really popular. You can get these limited edition ones. Man, this would be a great addition to you to add on top of the ones that are normally available that have the red and blue type nerds. Now, the new candies that we're gonna do today, I picked up at my local store, and we're gonna do candy corn, and we're also gonna do, what's new here is the Nerds candy corn. Now, I'm gonna do both of these at 150 degrees for about 4 hours. But the key piece of this is these are a little bit harder candies. So you're gonna need to warm the trays in the freeze dryer when that prompt comes up on your freeze dryer machine. So we're gonna warm the trays up for 10 minutes at a minimum, maybe even 15 minutes at 150 degrees, and then have the freeze dried process with the vacuum pop those candies and make them more crunchy. Now, let me talk to you about some of the freeze drying accessories and supplies that I have in front of me for these candies. You don't actually have to use these, but I wanted to try different elements of my freeze drying supplies to see kind of how this might be best to go about it in scale when you're trying to move through a lot of different candies. Now, the first thing is this Harvest Right silicone mold where it has various different cube areas that you can put candy. Now, I've used this for caramel M&Ms. I'm going to use it for these Nerd candy corns just because I don't really know how much they're gonna puff up, and rather than scatter them all across the tray of your freeze dryer tray, sometimes it can kind of connect and clump up, things like that. And so the silicone mold like this will allow me to basically have individual candies in each one, and then once they're done, I have each individual bite instead of trying to break them up individually myself. Now, the other thing that I've got here is my tray stackers from freezedryingsupplies.com. They've got a lot of different unique accessories for all different freeze dryer brands, including Harvest Right. These tray stackers, what I like about them though, is they actually kind of snap onto the edges of the freeze dryer trays, so they don't really move too much. I've got some other tray stackers that I bought off of Amazon, and they just weren't snapping onto the edges, so they would move around a little bit, and therefore when you're trying to transport 5, maybe even 10 trays at a time and carry them, it might move around a lot and you might lose product. Freezedryingsupplies.com is where I buy these. You can check out the link below in the video description, and you can buy directly from them. This is all US made. Now, why do you use tray stackers? Well, it allows you to just scale your production assembly period of time that you're doing all your production. For the candy corn and things like that, it may not be as pertinent. But if I'm planning on doing a lot of different candy corn in a day, well, we know that you're gonna do the cycle for 3 to 4 hours. So I can do about 3, maybe even 4 cycles in a day, because now I have all my 20 different trays from my 5-tray freeze dryer already stacked up, and I can just load it up. I don't have to worry about getting the bags open, arranging them on the tray, things like that. They're already stacked with the tray stackers. Same thing goes with all my fruit prep, ice cream prep. I use the tray stackers so that I can really be efficient while I'm doing the production, and I don't have to worry about that every time I need to do a new cycle. Okay, so what I'm simply gonna do is I'm just gonna put all these nerd clusters all in these different molds, and then I'm gonna separate all of them into the individual. Again, you don't have to use these molds. I'm doing this because I kind of want to just see how much they puff up, because I haven't done these ones in particular before. I've done candy corn before, and I'm okay with kind of breaking them up. But if these expand a lot, then it allows me to have individual nerd candy corn that I can easily just put in the bag instead of trying to break them apart sometimes like you do with Skittles or the nerd clusters, things like that. So let's put these all individually in the molds. All right, let's put the tray stackers on the edges so that when we start doing the candy corn, we have a clear way to be able to stack all of our trays. Now with the candy corn, I'm simply just gonna put them on the tray, and they are going to expand a little bit from what I've seen other people do candy corn before. And again, I'm doing this from home, so obviously wash your hands like I have, and also you can also wear gloves, things like that. But this is kind of the spacing that I would do for your candy corn. You can obviously go closer if you want to. Again, it's your preference and also kind of your end result of what you want to deal with once it gets done. All right, all 5 trays of my large Harvest Right freeze dryer is done. Now, the new Pro model for Harvest Right has 6 trays. So with freeze drying supplies, when I bought these tray stackers, they actually come with 5 different sets. So there's actually 25 of these different tray stackers so that you can fit 6 trays that come with the new Pro model. I've got the older version of the Harvest Right large, so I only need the 4 with 20 different tray stackers so that I can have my 5 trays. So let's get these into the freeze dryer and then press start and see how they all turn out. Okay, so as you can see, the high temperature mode is ready. So we just press the button to make it sure that it's turned on, and then we're going to close the drain valve and say yes. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna say start. Now, as you can tell, the vacuum isn't on yet. That's okay because we're warming the trays. It's not gonna kick on. So we're gonna say start, and we're at 150 degrees already that we set previously, and we're gonna add time. So we're gonna do 12 minutes. I think that's a good enough time at 150 degrees. So that's what will happen right now. Let's get these into the freeze dryer. All right, here's the finished freeze-dried product for freeze-dried candy corn nerds. Okay, now for the candy corn, now let's take a look and see how it popped. You can kind of see a difference in the regular candy corn if I place them on the tray, okay, and then the freeze-dried candy corn. Coloring kind of changed a little bit, and then you can also tell it's a little bit bigger here. I think this is a win for both of the different candy corns that we did. For regular candy corns, we can definitely tell that the texture, and it made it a little bit larger, and it is crunchy. Now let's do the taste test for both. Well, I'm really excited to do a taste test. I don't know about you, but if you're looking at this and saying, I really want to try this, you got to get the Nerd candy corn. I think it's gonna pop just like this if you do it at 150 degrees and do that tray warming. And then the candy corn, if you love candy corn and you have customers that love it, then this is gonna be a great hit because we know it changed its texture, it changed its coloration, its form. It's gonna be something very new for your customers for Halloween. Now let's get to the taste test. Now here is the Nerd candy corn. Now this looks like a grape. Let's go ahead and try this. Now that was a blast of sugar. So if you love Nerds and you love the taste of Nerds, you're gonna love this. That melted right in my mouth. It reminded me of Jolly Ranchers as well as some of the other crunchy candies. So if you love the crunchiness of freeze-dried candy and you love the taste of something melting in your mouth, man, this is gonna be a huge hit. Now let's try the candy corn that's freeze-dried. As you just heard in the microphone, that crunched super well in terms of texture. It's not soft and chewy like the regular candy corn. Now, the one thing I noticed in this in terms of texture is I think we could go a little bit longer with the dry time, maybe even go to 6 hours with your dry time on the candy corn. And I think we could probably soften this up by extending the warming the trays up to even 20 minutes if we can. So if you're gonna try this, a couple of the different modifications would be, one, if you want to get this more soft so that it becomes a larger candy corn, I would increase the warm the tray time, and then I would also increase the overall dry time. Overall though, this is going to be a great hit for your Halloween holiday. I think you're really going to sell a lot of this. Now I'm sure you're wondering, how do I price the candy corn freeze-dried as well as the Nerd candy corn? So I've got the receipts from when I bought the Nerd candy corn, and what this cost me right here was Nerd's candy corn cost me $2.98. $2.98 for all of that bag. Now it's not a very big bag. So what I have here is I've got a food scale, and I'm just gonna kind of check to see how much of these Nerd candy corns are gonna fit in this bag. Now we always tear off our bag so it's zeroed out so that we're not weighing the bag weight, we're only weighing the actual product. So, all right, let's go ahead and put the candies in here. And what I suggest you do when you're looking at new candies that you want to sell in your freeze drying business, go take one of your normal bags just like this. This is what I do. And what I want to do is I want to fill past this window, because as a customer, you want to see that you have relatively a new bag. You know, when you go to the grocery store and you get a bag of Doritos, you're kind of checking to see if it's the same amount. I don't know why I do that. I know they put the same amount of volume in there, but you're always kind of seeing like, does one weigh more than the other? That's what customers are going to do, okay? So it's a lot of perception, but also it's giving you the, the value that you want to price your product in terms of how much you're putting in. So let's go ahead and weigh everything that I put in here. This is coming out to 3.5 ounces just beyond the window here that you can see. Now, the candy corn bag for Nerds, it came in net weight ounces of 8 ounces. So if we put everything back in here, let's actually see how much it weighs. I'm pretty sure it's gonna come right even, because candy doesn't really lose a ton of weight. 7.2 ounces. So give or take a couple that I lost on the ground, it actually kind of came out equal. So if I'm looking at this, 7 ounces, let's say, let's go back and say we can do 2 bags worth past the window of 3.5 ounces. So I'm gonna take some of these out. Okay, 3.5. So when we look at this, the cost for this bag was $2.98. We're gonna get 2 bags worth, because the net total that we got was 7 ounces. So we divide that by 2. We're putting in 3.5 ounces into here. So looking at how much time that took, looking at how much electricity you're gonna have, all of that, I would probably charge double what you paid for that original candy bag. So we paid $3. I would at a minimum charge $6 per bag for this. I'm not gonna go through a whole cost of goods sold here, but gross sales wise, if we sold this for $6 per bag, we're gonna sell $12 worth of these Nerd candies, and we paid $3. Now you fixate, $2 to $3 of your electricity, all that type of thing. You're not looking as much margin, but you buy these things in bulk. Maybe you charge $9, $10 for this limited time freeze-dried candy. That's where you're gonna make more money, and you have some fun with it. It's just a nice change of pace, and maybe you can package in some of the other freeze-dried candy that you normally make so people buy more of your product. So one other thing, let's try the candy corn now. So let's go ahead and put in the candy corn into my bag. And I don't think it's gonna really lose much weight either. So we kind of have to evaluate. That's just past the window, okay? And how much does this weigh? 5 ounces. So let's say that we're gonna go with this, 5 ounces. Now this candy corn, this bag full of 40 ounces cost me $7.50. So if I was gonna freeze dry this bag, which is 40 ounces, we know that it doesn't really lose its weight, but we know we can put 5 ounces just above the window. So if my math's right here, we can get 8 bags of the freeze-dried candy corn past this window in this bag, and then maybe we're gonna sell it for $10 each. So that's $80 gross. We paid roughly $8 for the bag if you give or take taxes. So we're actually making about, what, $72 in more net after this initial expense. Then you got to calculate, you know, the cost of the bags, the labels, things like that. Now, where you can make up more of your profits is, I think, buying this in bulk. I don't know if you're going to be able to do that with the Nerd candy corn, but this is a fun, more flavorful type of freeze-dried candy that you can do for Halloween. On top of that, we know that we can freeze-dry candy corn, and we're making more profit on this particular candy. Now, if you want to know more about how to generate an ROI and a good cost of goods sold calculation for your freeze-drying business, check out the video coming up next where I talk about how you can earn money with your freeze dryer, and I've got a whole spreadsheet completely for free that I walk you through on how to figure out how much money you can make in your freeze drying business. Thanks for watching this Halloween edition of the Freeze Dry Business channel. We'll see you in the next video.